Time right now is 3 after 10. The LST 325 is docked right now at the public landing downtown, bringing with it living history to the Cincinnati waterfront. Fox 19 Now's Denise Johnson is live this morning with the World War II era ship with an inside look. And Denise, you only have a short time to come check it out.
That's right. I mean, actually, you can see it today and tomorrow, and they actually have, it's really reasonable. It's $10 for adults, $5 for students, or $20 for a family. And to be able to come down and actually walk on this ship, the LST is a land ship tank. So they actually loaded the tanks onto the bottom of the ship and were able to drive it up onto the beaches, and then the tanks would go off out of the bottom of the boat. It is huge, and just to be able to believe that you're part of the history, you can kind of see, I mean, we're causing quite a traffic jam up here actually. So as far as, which is definitely against what I'm supposed to be doing, but you can look out there and see how big this is. And if you can imagine, they actually had 100 sailors, they had 10 officers, and then they would load up to 250 men with their tanks in the bottom part of the ship or boat. What am I calling it the right thing, Captain Bob?
Yep.
The ship. Okay. Yes. We got to call it a ship. Now, Captain Bob, you actually are one of the men that brought this back. It was overseas for years.
35 years.
35 years. And you guys went over and you brought it back from Greece?
We did that in 2000, got back in 2001, January 10th. I had 18 World War II Navy LST sailors and 9 Korean War LST sailors. And me, I was in the Cuban Missile Crisis, the big war.
The big war, okay. But now tell me a little bit about this. I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, this is actually kind of somewhere we're getting a sneak peek because not everybody gets to see this. You guys, this is the wheel. I mean, they didn't actually steer it from up here, but they kind of gave the orders.
Well, up above we give the orders. We give them down through this voice tube.
Yeah.
We're 2 decks up, the officers that run the ship. This is my favorite piece of equipment. It's the only thing on the ship that hasn't broke ever.
Well, that's because it's kind of like the Campbell soup thing, you know. It's connected with just a bunch of tubes.
There's no electricity and no moving parts. But the helmsman would stand here, and the lee helmsman would stand over here when it was in World War II.
And that's how they actually controlled the ship and the speed.
Right. This is where the signal was sent down to the engine room, and then they would match it up to the signal so they know they had it, and they'd change the speed of the engine or reverse it.
Well, it's kind of a cool place to be able to see the inside. Now, earlier the Morse code was going off on here, so it was kind of interesting because as far as back into the back, I don't know if the gentleman's still back there or not, but we kind of got a sneak peek at the back of the ship as far as going back into the area here with the Morse code, and Captain Bob's going to follow me back. So I guess they would plot out their coordinates here.
This is where they would plot their courses. You know, things were done with sextants and pretty much sun lines and stars in World War II. Now, I have to admit that bringing it back from Greece, we had GPS.
So you kind of cheated a little bit, like modern technology. I did see on the first floor you guys have you have washers and dryers, and they said you guys have to do your own laundry now.
Well, you're right. Coming back, we had a pretty old dryer. I don't know if it's World War II or not, but we didn't have a dryer, so the guy that was doing our clothes, which had only one lug, so that's where I assigned him to do laundry. He put clothesline in the tank deck, and then we turned on the tank deck blowers, which take the carbon monoxide out when you turn on the tanks, start the tanks. And the clothes would dry in that tank deck in about an hour with those blowers on.
That's it. I mean, I was going to say, I'm going to cut you off here. We're looking at basically the area where they did all the Morse code and the different signals.
This was a radio room. All this equipment works. My radioman and a couple other guys have done a great job. We didn't have a radio when we brought the ship back, not one of these. We had the normal modern marine radios that we could communicate with, but they found all this after we got back. This has been totally restored, and it all works. They've done a terrific job with this, and they have days when they broadcast from here to other museum ships and other ham radio operators.
Well, I know we were talking earlier about this message, and I know he just showed that. That's an actual, would you read that for me? Kind of, it's an original, I mean, that's the actual original message. They said they blew it up much larger, but that was basically, well, I guess we're going to have to wrap that, but that was from the commander-in-chief basically saying the areas were to cease offensive operations against the Japanese. So that was one of the final messages that they had received through Morse code. Now, they did type that in and blow that up. And Captain Bob, I appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate your service. We all do to our country. And what an exciting thing to actually be able to come on board and see. And you still can come down. It is sitting right here below the ballpark, and it's actually really reasonable to get in. Like I said, $10 for adults, $5 for students, or $20 for your whole family. And you could come down. You probably couldn't even get enough history. I mean, it's going to take you a little while to do it. Frank, back to you.
We never want to forget, and that's one way we